Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and yes, excellent news, there will be a new premium German battleship soon. And I'm super excited to be bringing you this review because the ship is actually very good. But you know what that means? Every time I see a German battleship, I think to myself, Scharnhorst, Bismarck's two of my favorite ships in the game. We're gonna be YOLOing, we're gonna be super aggressive, and we're gonna be using our secondaries to destroy everything that comes within 6 or 7 kilometers, or sometimes even 8 kilometers. But that is not what you're going to do with this one. It is a little bit different and a little bit surprising. It does have other qualities as well. Let's take a look at them right now. Again, if you do not want to take a look at the stats, you can fast forward to 3 minutes. Okay, let's compare it to a couple of other tier 6 ships. Immediately we notice that the Prinz Eitel Friedrich has the same skills as the Bayern, sonar and precise aiming, that's very good. It's also a little bit longer and less resistant in terms of fire and flooding, but it does have a really good armor profile. At tier 6, the best that I've tested, survivability at 3 minutes is equivalent to the New Mexico. That is very good indeed, but don't let that fool you. You will not be able to withstand these huge tier 7 406mm shells, so you will need to be really careful against tier 7 battleships. Against tier 5 you're good. Maneuverability is absolutely excellent. That is where the ship shines according to me. That is something that we will further be improving, and this will favor highly mobile playstyle. You will be able to relocate very efficiently with that ship, something that the other tier 6 battleships are absolutely not able to do, except maybe the Normandy and the Ismail. So main guns, 8 350mm guns, that is a lower caliber than the Bayern, and you will indeed deal less damage per individual shell, but your accuracy is a little bit superior. Still, your DPM is absolutely nowhere near the other tier 6. Take a look at the fuse, 16,000 versus your 13,000, and the Warspite, which is also very superior. Also much better in terms of accuracy than you, but still it's a ship that's reasonably effective at range. And you also do get a nice turret rotation of 5.5 degrees, not something that you need to improve with your equipment setup. Secondaries, you get 7 150mm guns firing AP shells. That's very good. That's a little bit more than the Bayern. You also get more auto secondaries, but do not think for a second that that ship will be as dominant as the Scharnhorst of the Bismarck in close range. We will see why in the gameplay. Still, that is something that you absolutely want to improve with your equipment setup, because the range is not very good. It's actually fairly close to the other tier 6. So, average main guns DPM, very German, good secondaries DPM, very German, and very good AA, not very German. So that's a nice surprise. Let's go back to the gameplay now. So this is going to have a major impact on our gameplay, because the ship, if you think about the Scharnhorst or the Bismarck, you immediately think secondaries and complete dominance at mid to short range, and that's not the case with that ship, as we're going to see. I would say that your competitive advantage is your combination of armor, mobility, and I'd say DPM. Even though it's not very good, it's still not, for example, as awful as the Dunkirk. All in all, the Prinz Eitel Friedrich is a very balanced ship. It does not have any real weaknesses, but you will see that you cannot expect it to be as dominant at short range as you would, for example, in a Bismarck. When I see a battleship alone in a Bismarck, I can engage it without any issues. Tier 7, Tier 8, Tier 9, I know that I'm going to come out on top because they have that ridiculous secondaries power, and same with the torpedoes or a Scharnhorst or a Gneisenau, because you can basically level the playing field with your torpedoes. You do not have torpedoes with this one. And okay, we're doing very well against cruisers. For example, here we're engaging that Miyoko, and we are hoping that he shot his torpedoes out of range, but keep in mind the range of Japanese cruisers has been buffed in the last update. And I remember watching frantically and hoping that they would disappear, but no, they don't. So immediately we're noticing a situation. We do have a Normandy and a Colorado, and so we're going to avoid this one because there is absolutely no way we are going to come out on top of these two ships, and we're going to punch the Colorado just to remind him that we're there, but we're going to run away as quickly as we can because our armor is very good, but it is not going to be protecting us against a tier 7 salvo, and there you go, we immediately lose 8,000 hit points to that Colorado. And so that's the gimmick with that ship. It's very German, it does have very good secondaries, but it is not as dominant. You really need to be careful and think twice about your engagements, and you need to be using your mobility. Here, for example, take a look at the minimap. The enemy team is completely going to the left. And I think there is a Scharnhorst to the right of the screen. Yes, there we go, now it appears. And using our mobility, our top speed is close to 29 knots with the equipment setup that we chose and with the supplies that we have, 28.8. And that is absolutely immense at tier 6, and that is for me the main differentiator between that ship and the others. For example, Normandy and Dunkirk also have a very good top speed, which is very similar, but they are nowhere near as well armored than this one. And Normandy does have a lot of firepower, but the survivability is absolutely atrocious. And so we're going to be looking for unfair fights, and we will be using our mobility to get into those fights. There you go, that's the Colorado reminding me that is there. But if you look at the situation, I'm simply going to ignore the Scharnhorst to the right. I'm going to let him pursue the other cruiser. I'm going to ignore the battleships to the left. I'm going to focus on that poor cruiser who has absolutely no chance against us in a 1 versus 1. And I'm simply going to go for the cap. So for the moment, I'm still spotted by the Scharnhorst, but I'm not going to be soon, and I can quietly cap. And I've actually managed to get a surprising amount of wins by capping with that ship, simply because of that absolutely great combination of mobility, firepower and armor. That's a unique combination at tier 6, where you still have that dichotomy of ships that have a lot of firepower but absolutely awful mobility, or ships that have a very good mobility like the Normandy and the Dunkirk, but which do not have any armor. That ship is very, very well balanced. It's actually a pleasure to play, and I enjoy it a lot more than the Bayern for that reason, because the Bayern is always leaving me frustrating when I want to get into secondaries range, and it takes me forever to get there. So there you go, I'm going to fast forward to the end of the game. And sure enough, easy win by capping, and yes, we've used our mobility to our best advantage, and we do finish with 56,000. That's a little bit below my average with that ship, but still, it's very, very good. The ship is surprisingly efficient in all combinations of scenarios. But I'm going to show you another gameplay which will be on the same map, which will highlight why the ship is not as dominant at short range as the other German battleships are. Let's take a look at it right now. We're faced against a New Mexico and tier 5 battleships, and you would think we're going to be eating them alive, but it's going to be a little bit different. Let's take a look at why. So fast forward a bit, and we've seen that we are faced against tier 5 battleships, and we do not need to fear anything from them. We're going to be engaging them very, very easily. Our 35cm guns are going to do the business against these, and they will not be as deadly as they would be against us, because remember, we are very, very well armored. So I'm going to be engaging these ones at range until the situation is clarified. I'm not going to be pushing forward. I've got the support of the rest of my team behind me, and that's what you want to be doing with any German battleships, basically. You want to clarify the situation, the rules of engagement before you push, and sure enough, there is another battleship right behind it, and it's going to be focusing us as well. So I was not paying attention to my left. There are torpedoes, but they're going way behind me. That's very, very good, and we're going to be punching holes into that Bretagne without any issues. You see the accuracy at work here. It's actually fairly decent. It's good at tier 6, we can say that it's good. It's probably comparable to the Bismarck and other ships, but you cannot improve your accuracy with your equipment setup. And so you're left with your precise aiming charges and the secondary build, which we will have to use at some point, and you actually see me using that in every single gameplay with that ships. I'm able to get into really nice secondaries opportunities with this one. But the most important aspect of the ship is the mobility, and we're going to be using it right now to relocate to the left part of the battlefield, because we are sensing that the situation is not developing very well there. Right part is under control, 3 battleships are there, but the left part is completely open, and that's where we're going to go. So how good is the Prinz Eitel Friedrich against destroyer? It's actually very good. It does have those German AP secondaries which can deal a lot of damage. Bye bye. And yes, here we are in a favorable position because the DD is too worried with my other destroyer, and now I can easily finish him with the help of my destroyers. We do get a really awful salvo from the New Mexico, and I'm thinking here, if I can finish that Bugnoli, I can actually euro the New Mexico and try my luck, but that is not how things are going to go. Here the accuracy is going to troll me. I'm not going to be able to finish him, and immediately I'm going to retreat. And And that's why you cannot be as dominant in a brawl with that ship. You saw me lose close to 10,000 hit points with one volley of that New Mexico. And that is a major difference between that ship and the other German, I would say, brawlers. This one is in a tier where it's quite common to have enemy battleships having 12 guns. And what actually makes the difference is that these are relatively inaccurate at range, except maybe for the fuser. But for example, when that New Mexico, as you saw here, is able to put a full salvo against me at mid-range or short range, I immediately lose, I would say, 25% of my health. And that is why that ship is not as dominant at short range than, for example, a Bismarck would be. A Bismarck is going to be facing, for example, a Roma. The Roma only has 9 guns, and yeah, at 6 kilometers the accuracy does not make any difference. You're going to be hitting all your shells, but here you are not facing a ship with 9 guns, you're facing a ship with 12 guns, and it does have a much bigger broadside damage than you have, so you really want to be careful when engaging enemy battleships here. Your secondaries DPM is not a free pass to be, I would say, YOLOing every single battleship you meet. And you do not have torpedoes, so instead what you need to do is you need to use your mobility, as you see me here. I immediately disengage from that fight against that Budjoni and that New Mexico because they have absolutely no chance of winning it, and there you go, you see me taking massive damage here as well. And that's a fight that I can win because I do have support, I have another battleship right behind me, but I will barely come out of this one alive, and even if it's a 2 versus 1. So the secondaries are not the issue here, the secondaries are very good, it's simply the tier. When I'm engaging that thing at 10 kilometers, I know that it's going to miss half of its shots, but that's not the case when I'm too close, and expect to be absolutely deleted by a fuser if you make the mistake of engaging him at close range. And you see, so I do have support, but I barely come out on top of it, and if it had been a 1 versus 1, he would have killed me, no problem. So yes, you do have very good secondaries, but you need to use them wisely and use your mobility instead to put yourselves into favorable situation, as what we have done here. So almost done, time to close the guy. We're going to finish this one by capping again on the same map again, from the same direction again, but this time I was able to show you why you have to be careful when brawling with this one. Don't get me wrong, it's an excellent ship. It's incredibly mobile at a tier where the others are simply not moving a lot, and yeah, you can use that to your advantage. It does have a very good carry potential. It will teach you map awareness, it will teach you which fights you need to get into and which fights you should avoid, and that's certainly something that you need to master if you want to move further up the German battleship line. And so fast forward to the end of the gameplay, another win by capping, simply using our mobility and our ability to pick our engagements. Yes, very good ship indeed. I'm going to close the guide now. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you learned a couple of interesting things. As always, guys, see you soon, stay safe, take care. That was DeathFromAbove, signing out, bye bye.